Welcome to the Let's Talk with Paula show. And I watched all the headliners that come on at nighttime to see how they started their segment last night. And it kind of gave me an idea that, you know, the direction that I should go in. Because there's a lot of people that are out there that are depressed, that are, you know, just feeling blah. You know, we saw that on the news yesterday, all the different reports and stuff that, you know, a lot of people out there are really hurting from this election. First, let me say this. I voted, okay? I put it on my eyeglass case, so I wouldn't put it on a shirt, and I wouldn't do that. I would not ask you to do something that I would not do myself. So I just wanted you to know that I did vote, okay? Now, I want to do this first because it's the honorable thing to do, is to say congratulations to the President-elect Donald Trump. I also want to say that Kamala Harris and her VP Walz, they did a fantastic job in a short amount of time. They had 107 days that I'm surprised that she got as many as she did electoral votes in that short period of time. We have to remember that elect President Trump has been running his campaign, you know, since the last time he left the office. He had billionaires that was funding him. And so in a short period of time, I would like to say that the concession speech that the Vice President gave yesterday at Howard University was one that was heartfelt. It was one that is letting the world know ahead of time that they will have a peaceful, transitional movement to transition from one president to the next, and that it will be peaceful, and they will cooperate. And she thanked everybody. And I want to thank everybody because I was getting people. We always talk about voting. It just doesn't mean that it's a presidential election. On my shows, we talk about voting every time we know that, you know, we don't say candidates' names, but we do ask people to vote, to register to vote, to get out there and vote. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not going to do myself. I like to wait until the day, you know, that people go out on the last day of the election. I was surprised when I went into the booth this time that everything was automated, because I actually, when they ran, Biden and Trump ran for election, I actually worked over in PG County as a poll, not a poll person, but as a person that counted the ballots. And I worked. And I know that we did everything. We counted everybody. It took us some days after the election to get in the people that were in the services, provisional ballots, and, you know, those people that registered on the same day of the election. So it took us a little longer to get those things done. And I'm gonna say this, it's still gonna take a little longer for those to be counted, those provisional ballots, if they waited until the last minute. Most of the I'm gonna say the majority of the mail-in ballots were probably counted. That's true. But I'm saying this, that those military ballots from overseas, people that were able to register at the polls on election day and still cast a vote. The ones that came in for provisional and they were told they were someplace else, because I actually heard one of the candidates, and I was so proud to hear her say that there's a tie between her and someone else for that Democratic seat in the House. And she actually says, well, there's still ballots that need to be counted. She says the military, the provisional, because a lot of people didn't know about provisional, and we let y'all know about provisional ballots in case something happened to you at the polls. And I was glad to hear her say that. And she said, like she said, there's a lot of ballots that still have to be counted, and she is telling the truth. The ones that are mailed in after the election, those people that registered and voted on the same day of the election, those provisional ballots had to be verified. So you know, there's still a lot of ballots that's out there. I'm amazed that they got what they got done to call a race so far as the president of the United States is concerned. But as Vice President Harris said, we're going to accept it because it's constitutional and it's rule of law, that we acknowledge the winner, we have a smooth and peaceful transition, and that we should not give up a fight. And I thought those were, and she congratulated the president, the elect President Trump, and his vice president, and you know, that was honorable. I think she gave a fantastic speech to the world, because that's who's watching, the world. The world is watching us. And so I take my hat off to her for 107 days to have gotten the momentum and to get as many electoral votes and not have the finances that she, you know, could have had if she had started, you know, this process sooner. So I think the lesson here to be learned, because I talk to people, I call people, I work with people, and I was telling people to vote. We tell people to register to vote. We tell them to check their votes. We don't tell people who to vote for, but we always tell people to make sure that you are registered, to make sure that you go in there and ask for a provisional vote, and all those things we always say through every election, and we've done the same thing this time. We do not tell you who to vote for. But this time, I think the lesson is to be learned that's in my spirit, because it was people that I have talked to, it was people that I was talking to. I took people to the polls to vote, okay, on election day. But other people, because I talk, my kids, it drives them crazy because I talk to everybody, okay? And it doesn't matter. So when I'm in the grocery store, I would strike up a, you know, with my son, I would strike up a conversation with somebody and say, oh, did you vote, you know? Or, did you do early voting? If you did, congratulations. If you didn't, don't forget you can vote on the 7th. And, I mean, you know, on Tuesday. And then it was, I sent out text messages. I sent out text messages. I got responses from those, you know, from the people that I sent. I sent out over 150 texts in one night, okay? And usually, you know, you have to do more numbers than what you get back. But I still had people, as until yesterday, that apologized to me that they had not gotten back to me sooner. But I had conversations with people, not trying to persuade them who to vote for, but to vote. And in my spirit, I think this election proves a point. It proves that if you don't vote, you can't complain. Because the people that I had talked to on the street and asked them, had they registered? Are you going to vote? The comeback that I got was surprising. And they were all from everywhere. I mean, it wasn't black people, white people. There were people from other, you know, ethnic groups as well. And the feedback that I got was so amazing was, oh, I'm not getting in the middle of this. Get in the middle of what? That's your given right to vote. You're not getting in the middle of anything. You're trying to make sure that you vote for the best candidate that's out there that's going to meet what you can spiritually in your mind that you can live with. But I heard that more than once, and that really kind of baffled me. Oh, I'm not getting in the middle of this. Getting in the middle of a national election? You're not talking about getting in the middle of a fight or getting in the middle of you in an argument with one of your family members or your friends. We're not talking about that kind of election. We're talking about people that you come across that you don't even know, that you meet when you go out there and you vote. Or people that you've talked to and have your own opinions. You know, families for years. Politics is one of the things that you don't want to talk about in your household. It's because you're always going to have somebody that's going to agree or disagree. And then an argument ensues. And most of the time it's during the holidays, okay? I can't wait till Thanksgiving, okay? But I also reached out to some of my minister and pastor friends. And basically just one response to me was, almost the same thing. I'm not getting in the middle of this because I'm not really satisfied with either one. So, well, I can't tell you who to vote for, but I would go with my conscience, and I would go back and pray on it and ask God's direction on who you should vote for. And she said it was interesting what my opinions were, and I said to hers, and she gave me some scripture, and I said, for every scripture that you give me, I can find a piece of scripture that counteracts what you say. So we're not going to do the scripture battle, okay? I'm just asking you to go and pray and ask for guidance on whether or not you need to go out and vote. It's not up to me to tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you what you need to do to make sure that you can vote. I can tell you why it's so important for you to vote. And so I think this election by itself, I think that those booths that they had for you to vote in, those automated election booths that they had this year, because when the man put my card in, he did it twice, and I said, you want to give me a new card? He said, no, I can do it 3 times, and if after the 3rd time it doesn't take, then I'll get a new one. Okay, so the 3rd, when he put it back in the 3rd time, it did work. But I think for this election, because Trump was fussing at first about them having the hand ballots and everything, and he's had a lot of time, a lot of friends that he has out there worldwide. And so when I saw the electronic voting booths, it threw me for a loop because I thought that he was kind of against them. Just like at last election, he was against. This is not what I said. This is what I heard from news commentators. I'm quoting what the news commentators said. Last time that he had a problem with early voting. This time he left it alone. And they said that he must have seen that there was a value in having people to early vote. That's not what I said. That's what I heard the news commentators say. But nobody mentioned about the electronic booths and the way that they had them set up this time. And, that's why we got results so much quicker, because I reported from what a couple of news talk show hosts in Maddow, her show, that she's a very historian when it comes to elections, that she thought that we were not going to get. So I think a lot of people thought that we were going to still have these paper ballots, and you still would go through the machines. You could use the machines. I'm not talking about the machines you use to vote with. I'm talking about how they take this thing, they scan, and then they scan it into another machine, okay? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about when you can use the paper, they give you a choice, the paper, or you could use the electronic, CPU to vote on. I don't remember in that big last election, because I don't even remember counting anything like that over at those polls. So I think that it was just bad timing for a presidential election that they switched up the process. And the process got switched up in a couple of states. But I'm glad, and I thank you for everyone that went out and voted. I thank you so much. Because every vote counts, we see, okay? And if you don't vote, don't complain. It's nothing you can say to anybody, I don't care who you voted for. It's nothing you can say to anybody if you did not get out and vote. This should be a lesson to everyone, because there's a lot of people that are hurting, disappointed. They showed us that on the news yesterday. I heard it from the commentators. I heard it from, the talk show hosts on how humble they were and how heartbroken they were because of the way the election turned out. Well, Vice President Harris told us don't give up. She said we're supposed to roll up our sleeves and move forward. Another thing, I'm a native Washingtonian. I look out for PG because I've been here longer and I know what we do. I know the last election, it was on point in PG County. I want to thank once again Allison Alsobrook for winning that seat for us and being the first black female for Maryland to become a senator. I take my hat off to her. But this election was a little unique, okay? And I'm not going to pass my opinions on what I think, what was so unique about it. I just want to stick with the facts. We need to, as a people, we need to learn how to communicate with each other without getting angry with each other about politics. Everybody has a view, but we don't have to get angry about it. And I hope and pray, as long as I live and I see another presidential election, that I don't run across people that say, I'm not getting in the middle of this. It's not one of those kinds of things. You are supposed to get in the middle of it. You are supposed to invite and vote. You are supposed to let your spirit and do your homework. See, this is what we've been telling you guys for years on this show. Do your homework on the candidates that are out there that are running for election. If you do your homework and look, it's public record on what they vote for, what they approve, what they don't approve. It's public knowledge. So now, if you think that we got a seat that's getting ready to come up, that the county executive seat is getting ready to come up. So look up these people that, it was like 3 or 4 people on the news last night that said that they're going to get in that fight, and just like the news commentator said, they're going to be more. But do the homework, because some of these people have held office before. See what they were about, see what they were doing. So when you vote for PG's county executive, that the seat that Senator-elect Allison Alsabrook is leaving, do your homework now, because you do know that that election is getting ready to come up. And from what I understand, it's going to be another seat that's going to come up. So I'm not going to tell you here that I want you to look it up for yourself. You got 2 seats that's getting ready to come up in PG County. Look it up and see now, when it's time for you to go and go out there and vote, that you have a good conscience, a good spirit about who you want to put in those seats. It is so important. If we didn't learn anything else from this election, it is so important that we vote. It is so important that we take people with us. We encourage people to, get out there and vote. Sit down and have book clubs before elections come about. Sit down and invite some of your friends that you know you're not going to be in a dispute with, but it's okay because you're going to love each other when you finish. But sit down with them. Look, they had shows on that little kids are doing on public broadcasting. Okay, I always talk about Schoolhouse Rock, but don't laugh at me. But I let my dog watch television, and he watches public access, okay? And I'm trying to teach him how to know that when he's a good dog, he gets 1, 2 handfuls of food. If he's a bad dog, he gets 1 handful of food. And he looks at me when I only give him 1, and he knows that he's been good. So he looks at the MPT, I think that's Montgomery County Public Access. But they had young children that were talking about the Constitution, talking about immigration, talking about the rule of law, talking about all kinds of things that we should know about before this even election came up. And so we have our young, these kids can't even be any more than in junior high school. And they're trying to teach you about law. They were trying to teach you about immigrations. They were trying to teach you about the Constitution. They were trying to teach you about rule of law. They were talking about so many different things, and they didn't have a group of Caucasians, a group of blacks, a group of Hispanics. They mixed them up, so they had a little bit of everything that, everybody that was actually talking to you. Sing song makes you remember. But I was so impressed with these young people on that public access channel telling adults about all the things that were being argued about during this election before it came about and trying to give you knowledge on what it means, what the Constitution says, what this amendment means. What is an amendment? Which does that amendment mean? Anything that they were disputing about during this election, those young people gave you an opportunity to learn. Schoolhouse Rock, I have no stock in it. I have no stock in Montgomery County PPT TV channel. But those things that are out there, so that you are prepared for this election that's coming up with the county executive seat. What is a county executive? What do they do? Do you even know? Look it up and see. And the people that are running for that seat, for the PG County, look and see, because they all, like I said, have had seats before. Look and see what they voted on. You know, the kinds of things that are going to be within your purview that you think that's right. I take my hat off to all of you that voted, all the poll takers, all the people that worked, you know, around the clock, all the people that donated. I don't care who you donated to, but I thank you. I take my hat off to you. I applaud you for your service. And all of us that are in the churches or, you know, community developments that sat down and talked and took people to the polling booths, I take my hat off to you, because that's important. For all those people that made phone calls and knocked on doors, the people that they invited to go out of state and you were able to go out of state and help them knock on doors and talk, that's how in 107 days that Vice President Kamala Harris got where she was. 200 and some odd votes she got. They still have to count votes. But she was gracious enough to not to raise a whole bunch of ruckus and say, oh no, I want to wait till all those provisional ballots and all those mail-in ballots and all the veterans get put in, you know. No, she didn't do that. She came out honorably, humbly, and spoke and congratulated and told the world that she had spoken to the president-elect and that she told him that it was going to be a smooth transition. Now, I want to say something to you. I have a shirt on here tonight, and God put in my spirit. In fact, I got to turn around backwards. On the front side of it, it says JIMCH for the church, okay? But I don't know if you can see it well. I think Mark told me that it's okay. But I'm going to read it to you because this was in my spirit to give you hope, okay? It says, it's coming out of Jeremiah. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And that's Jeremiah 29:11. And so look at that. Because God, you know, some people want to say, oh, well, I don't know where was God? I can't believe that he did this. He can't believe that he did that. I don't blame it on God. Because God is looking out for you. All of us, no matter who you are, if you're a believer, believe and trust that he knows what he's doing, okay? And we will see the outcome on why he did what he did and why this election has gone the way it has gone. And most of all, I think that is proving the point for all you guys that said I wasn't trying to get in the middle of this, or I'm not going to vote, or I'm not going to do this, or even one of them. You choose the lesser of the two evils that's in your spirit, okay? But you don't want democracy to die. You don't. And so I stand with the vice president because she is still the vice president of these United States and was put, so far as I'm concerned, I have said since she's been in office that they did not give her enough play as a vice president of this United States as they have done our counterpart males. I have said that on this show 1,000 times. And then what comes up? Oh, well, people say they don't know who she is or whatever. Yeah, but then you want to throw and thrust her into an election in 107 days. And that was because she has favor with God. And just like she says, roll up your sleeves now. Get ready to fight. That's not me. Don't give up on democracy. Don't give up on the rights that we have been given. That she didn't say this, I'm saying this now. That our forefathers and brothers in civil wars, in slavery, that we fought for elections, for women to be able to vote, you know, abortions, IVF, for anything, that you went out there and you stood outside that Capitol, outside the Washington Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, or the monument, and you've stood out there in those marches through the years, you know. Think about what you did. Think about if you were too young, your parents were out there. Talk to them. Because, you know, democracy is what these United States is about. And you do not want democracy to be removed from this country. The other thing I want to say, and I pray that most of the time, I'm going to say this, that Donald Trump says that he says, excuse me, I'm not going to disrespect him, the elect president, Donald Trump, says that he's going to do something, he usually does it. I'm asking you guys now that are on, get ready to get into Social Security at 65 and over. You need to make sure that you get with some kind of group. Talk to your senators, you know, there are people that listen, and make sure that they do not do away with Social Security and Medicare. Because do you realize the burden, if they get rid of that the people that are on those things, if they have children, the burden that is going to be on your families. Health care is so important. And so you need to pray that might have just been something that he was saying. So with that, I'm going to say to you, if you're depressed, they have lines that you can call. If you feel suicidal, I hope not. There are lines that you can call. We have them at the end of my credits. Talk to somebody. It's going to be all right. God got us. God bless America. And good night.